Assalamu alaikum. This is Aisha and today we are going to talk about conditional type 2. Let's see the function of conditional type 2. The second conditional is used to talk about impossible situations at the time of speaking. The result can't happen because the condition is impossible in reality, again at the time of speaking. So the focus here is the result can't happen because the condition is impossible when? Now, at the time of speaking. Let's see this example. If I had 1 million dirhams, I would give a lot to charity. Now, what is the reality for such a sentence? In reality, I don't have the money. I don't have the 1 million dirham, so I can't give. So again, the result, giving money, can't happen because the condition, which is having money, is impossible now. Now, let's move to the format, or before that, let's see another example. If I had time, I would read a book. Again, what is reality? Actually, reality is I don't have time now, so I can't read the book. Now let's move to the format of the conditional type 2. Remember always that in the conditional sentences you should have two clauses. The if clause that is marked by if and the condition, and the main clause which is marked by would and contains the result of the condition. In the if clause you usually start with the if followed by the subject and the verb, but remember in the simple past. Whereas in the main clause, you should start with the subject, followed by would, and the verb in the infinitive form, and a comma separating both clauses. Let's see this example. Remember two clauses. In the if clause, we start with if, followed by a subject, say I, followed by verb in the simple past, say spoke Japanese, comma. In the main clause, start with subject, say I, followed by would, which is fixed, followed by the verb in the infinitive form, say talk to him. What do you have now? If I spoke Japanese, I would talk to him. Now the result, talking to him, is it possible? No. Why? Because the condition, which is speaking Japanese, is impossible now. Reality is I can't speak to him, so I can't speak Japanese, so I can't talk to him. Now, let's see some more examples about conditional type 2. Try to guess the best form for this verb. If she had the book, she read it on the bus. So, what is the best form for the verb here? Remember, type 2 includes would followed by the verb in the infinitive. So you say, if she had the book, she would read it on the bus. Another example, if he stopped smoking, he feel better. So what is the best form? Of course, it would be, if he stopped smoking, he would feel better. Another example, if people protest, poachers would stop killing animals. Remember again, in the conditional type 2, we use the past form in the if clause. So the form would be protested in the past. If people protested, poachers would stop killing animals. But the result can't happen because the condition is impossible now at the time of speaking. Another example, if I have enough money, I would travel to Japan. Again, in the if clause, remember the verb is in the past form. So you should say, if I had enough money, I would travel to Japan. Remember, we said that in the conditional sentences, you start with the if clause, but it is also possible that you start with the main clause. So you can say, if we lived in Abu Dhabi, Ahmed would visit us. It is also possible to say, Ahmed would visit us if we lived in Abu Dhabi. Remember, in this case, the comma is dropped. So you just say straight away, Ahmed would visit us if we lived in Abu Dhabi. Take this exercise for you. What is the other way that you can say this sentence? If I could speak German, I would speak to that tourist. So you can say also, right? I would speak to that tourist if I could speak German without a comma. You can also use other modals in addition to would. So you can say, if it rained, Alia would take her umbrella. You can use other modals such as could. So you say, if it rained, Alia could take her umbrella. You can also say, if it rained, Alia might take her umbrella. And of course, these sentences have the same general meaning. Grammatically, they are correct. They have a little difference in meaning only. Let's see these examples. If I had time, I would help you with your homework. You can also use could. I could help you with your homework, or I might help you with your homework. They are, in general, grammatically correct. But when you say, I could help you, then you are talking about ability. And when you say, I might help you, again here you are talking about possibility of the action. But grammatically, again, they are all correct. Remember that when we are using conditional type 2, then there is a special usage for was and were. How? Let's see this example. If he were my friend, I would invite him to my birthday party. Now, some of you may say, he were. This is wrong. It should be he was, because the past form of where is are and he doesn't go with are. No, actually here we are using conditional type 2, which is of course not talking about reality. So the rule that says he, she, it, take, was, and we, they, were, take, he and we, they, you, take, were is no more applicable here. Actually, all the pronouns take the verb were. So you say, if I were, if he were, if she were, if it were, if we were, if they were, and if you were. Only in conditional type 2. Remember this. Let's now see some examples. If Ali and Hamad, and the verb is be, older, they could play in our team. So what is the best form for the verb be here? Remember, conditional type 2. The subject here is Ali and Hamad. The pronoun is they. So in this case, the best form for be is were, of course. Another example is, if she, and the verb is be, my sister, I might give her the car. Again, conditional type 2. The best form for be is were, ignoring the subject if it is she or I or whatever. Note here that the contraction form for would plus not is wouldn't. So if I had my book now, I wouldn't borrow yours. So you have the contraction wouldn't. Now I'm going to give you the first part of a sentence. Try to complete it yourself with your own words. If I could go to the cinema, then what can the second clause be? If I could go to the cinema, you can say, I would enjoy my time. If the movie were interesting, notice here the usage of were. Although I have movie, which the pronoun is it, but still I use the verb were with all the pronouns. If the movie were interesting, I would watch it. Again, if the book were interesting, I would read it. If he could drive, So, he could take us to Dubai. If I were you, I would not wear those yellow shoes. Now, I will give you a situation. Try to give me a sentence. I don't have his phone number. I can't call him. So what is the best way to say a sentence using type 2? I can say, if I had his phone number, I would call him. You can also say, I would call him if I had his phone number. Notice here, in reality, it's don't have, can't call. So the reality is not and not. Come now, try to imagine opposite situation. Here you are using type 2. If I had his phone number, I would call him. So you are moving from reality to imaginary. I don't feel okay. I can't go to school. So what may you say in this case? Remember, it's opposite of reality. So I would go to school if I felt okay, or I would go to school if I were okay. And notice here, if I were. If I felt okay, I would go to school. So as you notice here, it's not the same as in reality. Now, my parents don't like my favorite song because it is loud. So, my parents don't, this is the reality. My music is too loud, this is reality. What can the sentence be? My parents would like my favorite song if it were not too loud. Again, opposite of reality. Let's see this practice. Now you have here two sides, the if clause and the main clause. Try to match them in the right way. So you have here, if I knew his number, what can the result be? It can be, right. She would do it if, right, she could. I wouldn't do that if I were you. If we lived in the country, right, we would need a second car. If there were less cars on the road, there would be less pollution. If I had more spare time, I would join the sports club. If the weather were good, notice here, the weather were good, we could go to the beach. If we had enough money, we would travel more often. You would get better results if you worked harder for your exams. And finally, you would meet more people if you went out more often. Let's check. Right. Now, remember the following before we leave. The format of conditional type 2 is the following. The if clause contains if plus subject plus verb in the past, and the main clause contains the result, and it contains subject followed by would and verb in the infinitive. Remember that verb be is used as was. It is not used as was here in conditional type 2. It's were for all the pronouns. And remember that we may use other modals in addition to would. So you can say, if I were there, I would talk, I could talk, I should talk, I might talk. And remember also that you can start with the main clause. So you can say, if we lived in Abu Dhabi, Ahmed would visit us. And you can say also, Ahmed would visit us if we lived in Abu Dhabi. In this case, drop the comma. And the contraction of would and not is would not, would not, wouldn't. And you say, if I had my book now, I wouldn't borrow yours. This is all for conditional type 2. I hope you learned something about this type of conditionals. Wish you all the best. Goodbye.